Well, ESG stands for environmental, social and governance, and it's really a matrix of factors by which countries and companies and developers, whoever, can prove their environmental credentials and so on, and then investors, when making choices as to whether they want to make ethical investments or not, will choose those with the highest amount of ESG factors. For as long as I can remember, planning has required people to demonstrate all sorts of environmental, social and also, by happenstance, governance issues. And in the past, developers, I think, found that almost a chore to have to comply with. But now things have the tables have turned, and I think we're seeing developers actually having the opportunity to embrace some of these concepts that they've been required to do in the past, and enable them to demonstrate their ESG credentials. Having a good ESG sort of coefficient, as it were, can definitely help developers in terms of their bottom line. Investors, I think, are increasingly looking to developers who have good ESG credentials in terms of their investments. So the sorts of opportunities you're looking at, which planning authorities will look for in addition, are things like low energy buildings, the use of materials in the building to promote that, reduction of carbon footprint. As an example, we've acted for a developer who's promoting a site in South London called Paradise, and it's it's a 6-storey office building made of laminated timber rather than traditional materials, and that's enabled them to produce a zero carbon footprint for a long time. And I think investors will be queuing up to invest in that building. The social element is very important for developers, and there's all sorts of ways, I think, in planning that they can look to achieve that. One example, quite an unusual one, is the redevelopment of a building called the Joiners Arms in Tower Hamlets. It was an LGBT pub. It then was sold, became vacant, but as part of the planning process, the developer has agreed to provide a new LGBT venue as part of the redevelopment. But not only that, they're providing funds for a pop-up LGBT venue during the construction phase, so the building's not lost for very long at all. Yes, I think developers these days are much more aware, as are authorities, in terms of how to plan a development in a way that provides all the other resources other than just a roof over somebody's head. So in terms of things like safety, community, play areas and those sorts of things, I think people have learnt a lot over the last 40 years or so. It's interesting because I think people are looking now not just at developing, but at innovative ways of developing, and therefore you're at the sort of cutting edge, I think, of the way that developers work. So it's an exciting place to be, and there's always opportunities to look at and explore. Yeah, well, governance is perhaps one of the harder areas for particularly developers, I think, to demonstrate. It's easier in other aspects of corporate life. But I think there are certainly ways that you can embrace governance. And it's usually, I think, showing that you are doing what you say you're going to do. And therefore, you see local authorities requiring things to be monitored and demonstrated. And I think this is an excellent way, actually, of developers being able to demonstrate governance. So to be able to show that your building is as carbon neutral as you say it is, to show that you are changing travel habits and so on, and to show that the building is energy efficient, demonstrates that you are ticking the other ESG boxes.